أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Dear brothers, sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I welcome all of you to the program Untitled. Normally we do this program in Tamil. Today with the topic of Kashmir, we decided to do in English. Inshallah, always my pleasure to invite our guest and especially Brother Latif Farooq. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And inshallah, and from now onward, we will discuss about Kashmir for half an hour. And especially, I would like to have your thoughts regarding your Kashmir. Alhamdulillah, you've written plenty of works regarding Muslim world all over the world, I think, Muslim countries. And today, many people observe October 27th as a Black Day at the Black Day for Kashmir, nationally and internationally, and people are expressing the solidarity with the people of Indian occupied Jammu Kashmir. And I would like to ask you, inshallah, can you please brief our viewers about Kashmir, why we are in this situation, why we are observing October 27th as a Black Day in the history, especially for the Kashmir people.
27th is the day that, after the partition, October 27th is the day that, that India sent its troops and occupied Kashmir. But I would like to say a few words about the history of Kashmiri for our readers and viewers to understand. So Kashmir is about 86,000 square meter area bordering China, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and India. Is described as one of the most beautiful places in the world. Some call it heaven on earth. Writers and poets. It really is a treat for them for writers and poets. And one poet said, the Persian poet, I think, this if you cut a bird, chop a bird and take to Kashmir and keep it there, it will wake up and start flying, it seems. It is so beautiful here. Snow-clad mountains, cool weather, very pleasant people. Very, very pleasant people. They have nothing to do with violence, but are subjected to brutality for the last almost, let us say, 5 centuries. 5 centuries here, yeah. It was in the modern times. In 1422, Mughal ruler Zainul Abidin captured Kashmir, and he ruled for about 52 years, up to 1474. This period, they say, is the golden era of Kashmir, peace and prosperity in Kashmir. And later in somewhere in 16th century, 1586 or so, 1512, Akbar the Great amalgamated this, annexed this to the Mughal Empire. This situation continued until British Empire, which captured India, also Mughal Empire collapsed and the British Empire took over Kashmir together with other parts here. And this British Empire, about 156 years ago, in 1846, there was an agreement called Amritsar Agreement. Under that agreement, it was sold, the British Empire sold it to Raja Gulab Singh for 7.5 million pounds, $750,000. Kashmir is not consulted. Raja Gulab, a Hindu ruler, Hindu warrior ruler, Dogra family, the warrior ruler. So he has been very extremely cruel and barbarous, torturing people, skinning the Muslims alive, so subjected the people to extreme difficulties and sufferings. This continued until the British Empire decided to divide India into partition India into Pakistan, in Pakistan, India. During the partition, without consulting the Kashmiri people, Raja Gulab Singh, the so-called Hindu ruler of Kashmir, imposed on the Kashmiri people against their will, exceeded Kashmir to India, which is not possible because the Indian Kashmir, even Lord Mountbatten said Kashmir people should decide their destiny. So they should be given a chance to decide whether they would like to join India or they would like to go join Pakistan or they like to remain independent. So that's where problem started. Despite the fact, despite the fact that Raja Gulab Singh acceded to this India, a few years later, maybe a year later, Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, uh, in a letter to Liaquat Ali Khan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, said, although Raja Gulab Singh had acceded Kashmir to India, we pledge that Kashmir, the fate of Kashmir will be decided by the people of Kashmir by a plebiscite. He told this to Liaquat Ali Khan. And few days later, he came on the Indian radio. There were no television at the time. He can say, this is not a pledge to the Kashmiri people. This is not a pledge to Pakistan. This is also a pledge to the whole world. That was the pledge he made. So then, okay, things are going on like this. And then India was not really creating the environment where you can hold a plebiscite and allow the people of Kashmir to decide their destiny. Problem after problem, obstacle after obstacle. They were dragging on. Although Nehru said it, he didn't mean it. Judging from the subsequent events, he didn't mean it. He played the deceitful game. So then you see a year later, it was Pakistan said no. Then they want to hold the plebiscite, India. While holding the plebiscite, under Indian troops, and while the media was controlled, people's freedom were restricted. Pakistan said no. It should be a free plebiscite under a free environment without Indian troops, where Kashmiri people can talk freely, act freely, and do what they want and decide what they want freely. India did not agree with this. So a problem was going on like this. Pakistan was demanding there should be a free and fair plebiscite. At that time, a year later, Rajagopal Acharya, Gopalachari Swami, Gopalachari Acharya, India took the matter to United Nations. Where Pakistan demanded it should be done under international patronage. So then you see India took the matter to United Nations. United Nations, tried their best. Then you see but they didn't say what India and Pakistan should do. But they tried their best to persuade the two to create the climate to hold the plebiscite. Pakistan repeatedly agreed to all the proposals of United Nations. India, obstacle after obstacle. Then suddenly, the Indian United Nations sent a team to study the situation. They went and reported. Then after that, you see that after that also came. Then India suddenly demanded, okay, we'll hold a plebiscite, provided all the Pakistani forces in Kashmir withdrawn. So this is a complicated situation here. Now, that was not the part of the demand under which under which Nehru said plebiscite will be held. There was no condition for plebiscite. And once when the situation returned to normal, we'll hold the plebiscite. But they were not allowing the situation to become normal, and they were militarizing the place, restricting the freedom of the people. So, but people are very, very fierce in their demand. So this continued. When this continued,
Okay.
United Nations, after so many resolutions, sent a team, a 5-member team, to study. They went and put forward the proposal. So every time a proposal is put forward, India didn't ready. Oh, we want this, we want that. They were not creating the required condition to hold the election. This situation continued. Finally, India, Pakistan agreed to everything. Most of the 90% of the Indian United Nations proposals, resolutions, proposals, and everything, they agreed. And but India was not agreeing. They put forward this withdrawal of troops from Assad, Kashmir. Then you see United Nations was sending representative after representative, delegation after delegation, meeting after meeting, discussion after discussion. They got fed up. So they said, okay, how you both create the condition. How can they create the condition? One side is creating problem, the other side is willing to accept it. So when this was going on, Lord Everbury, British human rights chief, said it's impossible to understand India. So people throughout the world, all over the world, should get together with Kashmir and fight for their freedom. That was the situation. Then you see after that also it came like this year. Then they once they arrested during this period, Sheikh Abdullah, who was the Kashmir Muslim leader, after that they released. They released, again he demanded. They said, we didn't betray India. India betrayed us. He said, but they didn't fulfill their promises. So and they say he also said Kashmir is not taken to the armed forces. They were not taken to administration. They were not given jobs. So you see, India was crushing the Kashmiris while sending troops there, increasing the number of troops, creating problem troops, and sending Indian Hindus there to in the government jobs, police, armed, everything. So Hinduization is going on there. So this problem. Then you see again they took over, took Farooq Abdullah, sorry, Sheikh Abdullah to prison. So he have been languishing in the prison for a long time. What can he do? Once he was released, he was a very tamed person. Then he found it's not easy for Kashmiris to live as a separate country. He realized maybe that's the wisdom that he thought. He realized we can't do this thing. So then what he said, okay, continue the autonomy given to us. Under 300, in the constitution, there is 370, section 370. Continue that. He agreed one thing: defense, finance, and telecommunication. These three things will be under central government. Rest, it will be administered by autonomous government. But and then people started resisting. When the people started resisting, Indians started brutalizing them, oppressing them, arresting them, beating them, torturing them, killing them, and it intensified. This brutality intensified, and they also started raping. And you see, the rape went to such an extent. Deliberately, Indian troops arrest men from one area, take them to the school or some other pedophile to investigate, probe of violence. While they raped women at home, Kashmiri men are very conservative Muslim women. They can't do anything. So they don't want to show they were polluted by these, Indian troops. So you see, they were between the two worlds here. On the one hand, they have their religious values, cultural values, moral values. They have the obligation to the family. So on the other hand, they were raped by the largest soldiers from the largest democracy in the world. Largest democracy. This brutality continued. In an interview given to Guardian in 1986, this is Congress government. Under this Congress government, Nehru's government. Nehru, of course, died. Under this, all the others who came, they continued it. 1986, Nehru, Rajiv Gandhi gave an interview to Guardian. In the interview, he said, you see, we need to admit the atrocities committed by Indian troops in Kashmir make me feel that we have lost Kashmir. We have lost Kashmir. Also, I must tell you, after East Pakistan was divided, broken into two, and India creating Bangladesh. Bangladesh is product of India, Indian conspiracy. It created India. Kashmir side, India became a bit active and arrogant and talking a little bit too much. And they said, forget about Kashmir, no more Kashmir, wind up Kashmir. That is the attitude. But the people didn't give up. People are fighting. Ruthlessly, they were fighting. When this is going on, came, I tell you, that came the uh, this Soviet Soviet Union collapsed. When the Soviet Union collapsed, before that, India aligned with Soviet Union. Then Israel started penetrating India. The Hindu Brahmin lobby, the rulers, ruling lobby, and the, 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 the Israel Zionist lobby, they got together. Those, what was one a friend of mine telling me, those who worshipped cow during Musa alayhi salam's time, who? Jews. And those who worship cow now under Modi's time, got together against Muslims. So the barbarity unleashed by the two, unbelievable. In 2014, this fellow came to power, who this Modi was brought to power. After that, situation became very bad. They started Hinduization the program, but they were attacking Muslims all over the island, all over where it is, all over India, and also attack, repressing and brutalizing Kashmiris. So this continued. The more they brutalized, more the people came out. And the raping, torturing, killing. So it has become an order of the day. Now it's virtually an Indian Hindu Brahmin state, the Muslim state, controlled by the Hindu Brahmin military and the administration. So you see, it's going on like this. And then after the collapse of Soviet Union, I told you, India quietly started aligning with America, Britain, which is the cause of all these evils, the cause of all the problems for the Kashmir, Britain. Britain could have decided at that time. He didn't decide because Mountbatten was in league with Nehru. So this, I don't want to go into details here. So this happened here. So see, then India became copy, and they became, especially after nuclear device was after nuclear bomb, then Advani, another fascist BJP fellow who's soaked in Muslim blood, soaked 30,000, 40,000 Muslim blood. The man who spearheaded the campaign to destroy Ayodhya Mosque, he said, now Pakistan can fall back their nuclear program and Kashmir issue. But that didn't take place. Kashmir were Kashmiris. They were the most peaceful, some of the most peaceful people in the planet, I would say. They were brutalized by Indian government, Modi's government, in the same way Israelis brutalizing Palestinians. And the Arab tyrants in the Middle East, they are watching this. They don't want to get involved here.
We will, yeah, we
This
will,
continues up to now. Go ahead,
yes,
please.
yeah, we will come back step by step. I want to get this picture.
Yeah, now I have given the brief account,
Yeah,
the history.
yes, but very good. Thank you very much. One of the things we frequently hear from the media nowadays in Kashmir, there are Hindus, there are Sikh, there are Buddhists, and Muslim. I want to get a very clear picture about the demography of Kashmir. Can you elaborate on that subject?
I would say more than 90% of the Kashmiris are Muslims.
Yeah, my readings say 85% of the
How is it possible?
population.
We actually, Kashmir, the truth is not known about the demography, about nothing, and about anything. You don't get the truth. You get the truth from the Brahmin RSS side, RSS point of view. That's where you get the information. Otherwise, about Kashmir, you don't get the truth. True side of anything. Yeah.
Another second part is you mentioned Britain is one of the co causes for this flight. Yeah. And
Yeah.
already we have in the history, Palestine is the disputed area in the world. And the Palestine and tried to solve by the United Nations, so many resolutions given. But the opposite occupiers are the Israelis. They never listen and they never fulfill the any resolution. So similar thing happening with India now. And can you bring this together? How do you looking into this two part, Kashmir issue and the Palestine issue, and the
In,
United Nations?
in the case of, Israel, Britain has already decided more than a century ago. while they were the mandatory power in Palestine, they decided to kick out Palestinians and bring the Israelis, Zionists, from Bulgaria, Romania, Czechoslovakia, Russia, all over Europe, settle them there. And they allowed them to settle also. And they gave them military training. You see, a man like Menahem Begin killed 250,000 people, and he became the prime minister of Israel. And then he was given Nobel Prize. So Britain prepared the ground. They brought in Jews, but they gave them training, gave them arms, and suppressed and brutalized Palestinians, and handed over to America. America took over and took the issue to United Nations. Before going to United Nations in America, large number of people, American in the American administration, they warned the President Truman, don't do this mistake. United Nations created to bring peace. How can you deprive the people, Palestinians, of their own land and bring in a group of murderers, thugs, hooligans, outright cruel people, and give them the rights? Now we see Palestine was part at that time, but Zionist lobby was very strong. They stooped to the lowest level. Now I tell you, when proposal of partition was brought to United Nations, 6 countries refused to what? I forgot the 6 countries refused to what? This is injustice, cruel injustice. America would put pressure on the 6 countries and all of them, and Israel bribed them. The most immoral and most illegal country in the world is Israel. It's not a country, it's an entity. But it is backed by America, Britain, France, Russia, all the countries. Now, all the tyrant in the Middle East are with Israelis. You see, corrupt tyrant, corrupt. In the case of Palestine, also that is the land. But what Britain did to Palestine, that is kicking out the Palestinians, killing them, kicking out, and bringing Israelis and settling them in Palestinian land. Same thing, Modi and Amit Shah, they are doing it. They are after removing this 370, Article 370, what they are doing now, they annexed Kashmir. They abolished Article 370. They annexed Kashmir and they are settling in Hindus now. So they are big way they are settling. Industries, Hindu industries, all things are coming. So Hinduization is going on now. So maybe they think like what happened in Palestine, so they may be able to suppress and eliminate Kashmiri Muslims and keep in the way they are keeping Palestinians and get the Hindus to rule. It's like that's what they are doing now. Yeah.
Yeah, when the national and internationally, when they are remarking this 27th day as a Black Day for Kashmiri, and very simple question people can ask: what is their demand from the
Whose
Indian
demand?
demand of Muslims in Kashmir? What is their main
Freedom.
demand?
Freedom. They are reminding whenever the occasion comes, they are reminding of their freedom, need to be free from Indian hegemony. They want to rule themselves. Actually, many Indian politicians, reasonable politicians, who believe in Vedas Hinduism, not this RSS, BJP hooliganism. Vedas Hinduism. Hinduism is based on Vedas. Hinduism teachings of Vedas. The people who believe peaceful in this, they say India have made the biggest mistake. India should have won the hearts of the people of Pakistan, Kashmir, and they could have come to some understanding. But right now, that is not the attitude of the present India. They want to crush. In the same way, Israelis kicked out the Palestinians, massacre after massacre. 35 massacres committed by Israelis. Like that, India won't do it, but now they're doing it now. Colonizing Kashmir with Hindus here.
And it,
BJP RSS supporters.
yeah, personally, I want to ask this question: you
Okay,
have more than 40 years of experience in, I think, global politics, and also
50
you
years.
were serving more than 20 years, I think, in Middle East as an editor in Khalid Times and also Sharq al Awsat.
Yeah.
And also many books. You are, Alhamdulillah, author of many books. Even recent book is Hindutva Violence Against Minorities. That book is just, I think, a freshly 1 week old book. Yeah,
Yesterday it released.
only yesterday. And what is my question is, from your experience, do you think the Kashmiri people get their freedom?
You see, if you see the history, all over the world, throughout the history, injustice, crime never rewarded. Justice after maybe even 500 years prevails. That's what Hinduism teaches. That's what Buddhism teaches. That Islam teaches. Christianity teaches. Even Judaism. Even today, the Jews are there are Jews against the Zionism. Zionism is nothing to do with Jewish. Judaism, what is told to Musa alayhi salam, what is sent to Isa, has nothing to do with what these people do here. So you see, someday Kashmiris are not going to bow down to or even yield to the killing and shooting and the pressure of Indian government. This BJP RSS a temporary force. Now Hindus are realizing. But they have done tremendous damage to Hinduism. Hinduism of the Vedas. What is it? Just now, see, last month in Delhi, a Muslim girl, 21-year-old Muslim girl, was working for the defense, kidnapped and raped by 4 people. And her 2 breasts were chopped, thrown out. 51 times she was stabbed. Her private parts were mutilated. And then you see the iron, this is the knife they used to cut her tongue, it went and came out of the throat. So this is happening where? In the largest democracy in the world, under BJP, under RSS. You think this will survive? This atrocity will never survive. You see, if you see large number of, in the YouTube and all those things, large number of genuine Islamic Hindus, the Hindus, they are not in favor of this. They are against it. Now they caught the power. Using the power, they brought the media under their control. The incident which I told you was not reported in the media. Now see, Shah Rukh Khan's son was having a party last week, 2 weeks ago, having a party in a boat. And they said there were little drugs and he was taken to custody. But you see, 21,000 million rupees worth of drugs were caught in Gujarat. Nobody speaks about it. This is because only Shah Rukh Khan. If Shah Rukh, there was an Indian writer who said, if Shah Rukh Khan says, okay, Modi ji, I'll join you, drug will become sugar. This is the hypocrisy there. Outright hypocrisy, outright the barbarities taking place in India. But this will end. So your
Yeah,
question, my answer to your question is this will end. If not today,
yeah,
if not
yeah,
tomorrow, even after 100 years, India, Kashmiris will be in their
yeah.
freedom.
Yeah, very clear answer because truth will prevail. Yeah, we believe that, inshallah. And I would like to ask this one, maybe the last question before we will include our second guest, inshallah. And the international community, did they respond clearly or are they going to respond? And what is the response of the international community towards Kashmiri people,
You see, brother, what is international community?
including you and me, international
No,
community?
I'm talking what is international community? International community is what?
Yeah,
America, Britain, France, Russia. This is the international community. They decide. In the Security Council, Muslims constitute 1/3 of the population in the world. Is there a Muslim representing the UN Security Council? No. They control the imperial power, British imperial power, American warmongers, French imperial power, and then Russia. Russia and these 3 countries may be having differences politically, but when it comes to killing the Muslim, they are hand in glove. Russia, Britain, France, and America, they are hand in glove. Now in Afghanistan, what has happened? Iraq, what has happened? Syria, what has happened? Libya, what has happened? They are together. They destroyed. Now, what is going on now in the world since the end of collapse of Soviet is crusade. It's a
Can I
crusade
ask you?
against Muslim.
Can I ask you this way? The Muslim
Yes,
community,
okay. Uh,
Muslim communities, Muslim countries, Muslim leaders. We normally proud we have more than 56 Muslim countries and the Muslim leaders. And what is your opinion regarding? Can you
brother,
expect?
yeah, I tell you, Sheikh Ismail, we talk about Muslim world. Muslim world is, where is the Muslim world? For example, in the Middle East, Africa, Central Asia, South Asia. And India also, the largest Muslim population, largest country with a Muslim population is India. Largest Muslim population in a country in India. Now, see, tell me in one place there's a Muslim ruler. No country. Now, in the Middle East, 1918, 1920, after the First World War, Britain divided the Middle East. Iraq, Egypt, and other places, they control. They install their own stooges. And in Jordan, in Syria, France installed their stooges. Now they, through them, France, Britain, and America, they are controlling the Middle East. Now you see, in Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood came to power. Dr. Morsi is genuinely elected for power. So you see, he 60% of the 80 or 90% of people voted for him. And after 6 years, for the first time, this democratic government was established. What did they do? They got Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and United Arab Emirates to spend 11,000 million dollar to create the artificial shortage, topple their government, install this dictator uh, Sisi. He is serving obediently America, Britain, France, and Israel. They want to now they created Israel. They wanted to make all countries in the region weak. Israel should be superpower. So in the African country, all Muslim countries, you see, now Nigeria, what's happened? Now last week, what's happened in Sudan? You see, who is behind this? They will never allow a Muslim country. So they want dictators who kiss their feet, who serve their cause here. Don't talk about Islam. Islam is the only force which West fear. America, Britain, France, Russia, all the West fear Islam. That's why they're campaigning Islamophobia. If Islam is allowed to flourish, all the hypocrites will be exposed in India, in Pakistan, and in Israel, and in Middle East. You think that Saudi Arabia is a Muslim country? They have done the biggest damage to the Muslim world. So see, we don't have Muslim rulers. We have Muslim countries where people are oppressed. All over now in Central Asia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkey, all the Istans, who controls? Russia controls. They just can't move inch. So where the freedom? Muslim, they can okay now they can go to pray, mosque and pray, but don't talk politics. So they bit about South Asia. Now see, they when Sukarno said, "I want Indonesia to be free," they they brought in Suharto, the army fellow, killed 500,000 Muslims in Indonesia, destroyed Sukarno's government, installed this dictator who Suharto, and then he was ruling for 30 years. Now what's happened? It's a very rich country, fertile country, lot of resources. American companies are looting their country. People are sleeping in the wayward areas, canal areas. That people are sleeping, but they rich. Even in the African Muslim countries, the resources who is exploiting. They have their dictators there. They bribe them. They give everything what they want. Keep some money in the Swiss bank and looting the copper mine. All these things in African countries they are looting. See what's happening in Nigeria. See what's happening in Sudan. They won't allow. They won't. Their Muslim world is there, but the Muslim world is controlled by these four powers through their agents. They are the dictators. For example, Saudi. The crime that Saudi is committing. Day before yesterday, 3 4 days ago, the huge music show in Riyadh, the area which Rasulullah refused to pray, the Riyadh. Even 3 times after the Sahabas asked, why don't you pray for, what is the name for Riyadh? Riyadh in
Najid, the place
Najib.
for
Najib. Rasulullah got angry fourth time. Oh, he knows. These fellows are, they have nothing to do with Islam. You see, How many Muslim scholars are there in jail? Can you call him Muslim? And how did
Yeah.
you Saudi? No, no, Saudi and UAE. How many millions they spent to destroy that ancient Muslim country, Yemen? Biggest humanitarian catastrophe they created. Saudi and UAE. UAE, well, now they got little money. They are trying to be kingmakers. You see, the day the money goes, they'll go back to the Camelites. You see, they have lost in the Gulf. In the Gulf there are Islamic banks run by RSS Hindus. I've seen all these. Therefore, your question, there are Muslims, but the Muslims are divided, ruled by these four countries through their agents, dictators. Now you
Okay.
see,
Yeah.
Jordan, Hussein. So
Yeah,
go ahead,
simple
please.
question, but going to be very big discussion. Going to be because we are talking about the problems always. Yes, we need to keep the voice for the voiceless people. Yes, this is the reason we are here today to discuss about Kashmiri atrocities against the Muslims. Is the continually last 74 years, even before it happened. And when I looking some of the documentaries, it's hidden from the public so many things regarding Kashmir. And this is not only Kashmir, for many Muslim countries. And my
Right.
question here, the listeners may be asking, okay, we are talking about the problems. What is the solution? Who going to give the solution? How do we solve the problem? So, inshallah, with this question, and I will bring our next guest, inshallah, and we will discuss further, inshallah. We have time enough, inshallah. Yes, listeners, you are listening to Karatadal program that normally we do in Tamil. Today we started to do in English. Alhamdulillah, and brother Latif Farooq, with his experience, Alhamdulillah, he brought enlightened to the subject. And inshallah, I will bring another guest, inshallah. Brother Basharat, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Aslam, Ustad. How are you?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Welcome to our show, first time, and Jazakumullahu khairan for your time. And it is in
Barakallah fi.
UK working time, and also I know you are busy father. And
Jazakallah.
Bishara, regarding you, Alhamdulillah, Latif Farooq, well known for our audience. I want you to introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm 53 years old. Alhamdulillah. I'm a father. I'm a son. MashaAllah, my parents, I look after. They live with me. And I'm a brother. And I've been involved in community dawah for 20 odd years or so. So we've done campaigns regarding RSC, for example, in Derby. We've been part of campaigns locally and nationally in relation to the images of the Prophet ﷺ, the cartoons being published. So, in the community, we try to raise awareness and advise the community, inshallah ta'ala, what we need to do, what befits us, what's the best way forward for us as Muslims, as a community, inshallah ta'ala.
Jazakumullah khairan, mashallah. Very beautiful, inshallah. May Allah help you, inshallah, in the future. May Allah reward you for your continue work with your family and also with your community. Ameen, ameen, ya Rabbal Alameen. And inshallah, as a Muslim, we always concerned about the Ummah, always concerned about the world. And especially when it's come to Kashmir, people related Pakistan. And the Pakistan is concerned about the Kashmiri. I want to hear the question to be asked to you. Is Kashmiri issue is a matter to others, especially for Pakistanis?
Yes, it does. And that goes without saying. And Jazakallah khair to Brother Latif Farooq for the historical background. We went into why, Kashmir was given and how the British they leased Kashmir, to a Maharaja, and they earned the East Indian Company, made money from that. Now, when the partition actually occurred, according to their own records, was that wherever the majority wants to go after the partition, that area will then be given, whether to Pakistan or India. So in Hyderabad, for example, there was a Muslim, governor, but the people of Hyderabad they wanted to go with India, and so they went with India. Now, people of Kashmir they wanted to go with Pakistan. Now, despite that, and because and the tricks of the British and allowing this contention to occur, they left that area and there's been fights ever since then. There's been discontent in that area, ever since then. Now, if they had followed their own, pledges, if they had followed their own agreement, Kashmir would have been part of it. Now, the Pakistanis in Kashmir, the Pakistanis, the Muslims in Pakistan, they feel Kashmir is part of them. So whenever there's an issue, whenever there's any, atrocities that are taking place, the people of Pakistan, they are angry about it. We want to actually help the Muslims of Kashmir. We are brothers. We are brothers because not because we're saying that as a plain abstract statement. We are brothers because this is what our deen teaches us. When we hear about our sisters being raped, this is dishonor to us. This is dishonor to us. And as Muslims, we want to put a stop to that. But it's not to do sort of, we're not talking about taking violence, doing violence, or taking the laws in our own hands. We then raise awareness about it as Muslims, as Allah teaches us. Raise awareness about these things, and inshallah, we advise the Muslim government, the rulers of Pakistan, the rulers in Muslim world, and advise them that look, they need to speak up. They need to support the Muslims of Kashmir, not just Kashmir. As the brother Latif mentioned, look at the issues that we face around the world, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Yemen. Look, how can we be silent when these atrocities are actually occurring? Look at the example the brother gave in relation to how their sister was raped in India. Yeah, how the Hindu folks, they raped the sister, and how they killed her eventually. How the knife went through her mouth and came out through her throat. Now, how can we be silent about that? Then the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Look, a drop of the blood of a Muslim is more sacred to me than the Kaaba itself." So when we have these upbringing, when we have these principles which Islam has given to us, how can we be quiet about it? So as the Muslims, yes, we need to speak up. As the Muslims, yes, wherever we are, whether it's in Pakistan, whether it's in Middle East, whether in Africa, whether in Europe, we must speak up about the atrocities that are facing the Muslims, inshallah ta'ala.
Jazakumullah khairan. It's very, very beautifully you put forward this question. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair for beautiful answer. And a big question coming because we talk about the problems. Now, the plights of Muslims, not only in Kashmir, all over the world. And if you are thinking for way forward, and I want today, and what is the way forward for Kashmir from your brother?
In
Bashar.
terms of the way forward, look, our noble history, look at the history, what it teaches us. I'm not asking people to become great scholars, anything like that. Just study our history. Look, what gave us honor when Muslims were one, when Muslims were united, when Allah's deen was being implemented in our lives. So, as Brother Latif mentioned in his talk, look, when states like Libya came about, Nigeria came about, Egypt came about, Dubai came about, these lines that are drawn on the map, when did they actually come about? Who actually put these lines on the map? Who actually said to us the fact that you're now Pakistani, you have nothing to do with what's actually happening in Muslims in Afghanistan, you have nothing to do with what's happening in Muslims in Iraq, you have nothing to do. Who gave you these thoughts? Who gave you these thoughts about being selfish? Put yourself first. So tomorrow you're thinking about Pakistan. Now there's even been discussions about Pakistan being divided further because there's a lot of resources, for example, in Sindh and places like that. Yeah. Now, how much more division do we need to actually have? Now, just go back to the point that I made initially. And the initial point was look at the history, look at our noble history, and look how Islam came into the subcontinent. At the time of Khalifa al-Mu'tasim, a Muslim woman was kidnapped, and he sent Muhammad bin Ibn Qasim to India to go and protect her honor. And Muhammad bin Qasim, he came to India and he brought Islam. And he brought Islam. And people lived under Islam. Now, Islam is not all bad and negative as we hear and read in the media. Because if Islam was all bad and it was all horrible and extremist and whatever, how come the Hindus and the Sikhs and the Buddhists, all these people, how come they still exist? Islam brought mercy to these people. Islam is a mercy to mankind. And I'll give another example, right? When the Crusades were occurring, and Brother Latif Farouk, inshallah, can enlighten us even more. When the Crusade was were occurring, the Jews and the Christians would fight with the Muslims against the Crusaders. Now, why did they do that? They did that because Islam was merciful to them. It protected their rights. It looked after them. Look at the situation, when the Spanish Inquisition was actually occurring. The Jews were being buried alive, right, in Spain. And where did they go and seek refuge? They went and sought refuge in Istanbul, the seat of the Khilafah. And that's why we have a huge population of Jews that actually live in Istanbul. Now, so all this, this talk about, look, hatred against Jews, hatred about Sikhs, hatred about this or whatever. Well, this is all rubbish. Look at what the history teaches us, and look what the history actually shows us. How people lived, their community flourished under Islam. So we need to look back in terms of when Muslim Ummah was one, when Islam as a nizam, as a system, as a state was being applied, and how it was a mercy to mankind, inshallah ta'ala.
Okay, and Jazakumullah khairan. And always we are referring to the history, especially the biography of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for everything. And we just passed the month of Rabiul Awal, which everybody say Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born. So here the point is we always taking the reference to Quran and the Hadith, but we are forget to reference to the history. And what do you want to say about that for the Muslim? Rather than only not looking into the Sirah, you should be looking into the implication of the Quran and Sunnah for last 1300 years, because this history is, as you mentioned, the Istanbul gave the refuge to the Jewish people who were tortured by the Christian. And what is the message you want to give to the people regarding look into the history plus the Sirah?
Look, we should be proud of our history. We should be proud of our thing. And yes, looking back into our history, we've gone through a process of colonization where everything, which is Islamic has been shown to us as negative or regressive and things. I was reading a little bit about history about Uthmani Khilafah and how, towards the end, they were looking at rockets and things and they were experimenting with that. Now, this is going back more than 100 years or so. Look at people like, the scientists, the Muslims actually developed. Look at algebra, how Muslims actually developed that. So the history will teach us, inshallah, that look, if we want to bring honor in our life, if we want to be protecting our honor, if we want to live with sukoon in a tranquil way, look, Islam is not just for Muslims. Islam is a mercy to mankind. Yeah, whether it's Jews, whether it's Christians. Yeah, this is what our history shows us. So surely, if your history is showing us that this is what led to when Islam was being implemented, surely we need to work towards that. And that's the glorious history that's us telling us. So we need to have we need to work for the Islamic State. We need to have the system of Islam being applied in people's lives, inshallah.
Inshallah. Regarding the Kashmir, Alhamdulillah, you said you are living in UK, I think in Derby. And how long ago your father came? Maybe more than 40 years, I'm thinking. Response of the Muslims community in UK towards Kashmir. And if we are discussing how the Muslims in UK responding, well, it is maybe to more Kashmiri and the Palestinian, the Pakistani and the Kashmiri people are living in UK. Yes, and the response of the Muslim community in UK, how is that towards the Kashmir now?
In terms of our response, look, in terms of doing dua for the Muslims wherever they are, we should do that. We should ask Allah to help and guide us all the time. We should ask Allah's help. And wherever we are, we should do that. The dua is a weapon of the believers. And never ever forget that. Our deen teaches us that. So we should always ask for Allah's help and ask for Allah's mercy to help us. As Muslims, we discuss with each other. As Muslims, we advise and guide one another. As Muslims, we should discuss and raise awareness about the issues in terms of what's actually happening all around the world. So that a little bit of history Brother Latif gave in relation to how Kashmir came about, how the Maharaja, he was leased this land, of Kashmir and how he ruled over them. When we understand these things, inshallah ta'ala, our outlook on life will lead us to understand the fact that, look, as Muslims, we need to unite. Look how much the Muslims have actually, over the years, have been bending over backward to work within the existing paradigm, the existing system, United Nations resolutions. Even they're saying the fact that, look what's happening in Kashmir, let the people determine. When the people determine 80% of the Muslims, oh, we want to be Pakistani, we want to be with Pakistan, not acceptable. Look at the situation in Syria. Look at the situation in Syria. People have been bombed, they've been obliterated, and people are silent. Why? You know why? Sorry, excuse me, yeah. Why is that, why don't we do something about that? So what I mean is that, look, we need to discuss with each other. Apologies, yes, I kind of went off. We need to discuss with each other. We need to give da'wah, and we need to speak to our, our elders. We need to speak to our, imams. We need to speak to our community leaders. And the Muslims that come over here, we need to speak to them and raise awareness. So inshallah ta'ala, when this thinking process starts, people will then start yearning for the Islamic Islam. People will then start working for it. And that's what these things need to be our goals.
Okay, mashallah. And Brother Latif, and do you have any remark regarding this at final hours, final minutes we are here? If you want to ask a cross question, you can ask Basharat Ahmed, you can ask Latif Farooq, and Latif Farooq can ask.
I appreciate what Brother Ahmad said here. It's quite valuable contribution he made here. So it's okay. There's nothing that I can ask him. You think
I
it's
just wanted to,
seem
make a
like
point. I was listening to yourself, Brother Latif, that is, and we talked about what was actually historically in India, and look at the oppression and the zulm, and the atrocities the Muslims actually faced. And even since then, if you look what the rulers have done. Initially they were saying there would be no compromise on Kashmir. You see, these are the Pakistani rulers now. No compromise. Kashmir needs to be part of it. And then, as you mentioned, these people are stooges. So Musharraf in 2000, early 2000, he went and had a meeting with George Bush at Camp David,
yes,
and
earlier
then
Salam.
and he changed his stance because we need to have a two-state solution now. And so that is now teaching us, yeah, that is now teaching us the fact that, look, how rulers, where's their loyalty? Is there loyalty to the people, or is there loyalty to the orders that are actually given, to them? Look at the situation with Uyghur Muslims. Sorry, I know we're talking about Kashmir today. Look at the situation with Uyghur Muslims. Imran Khan, the leader of Pakistan, the prime minister, the one who talks about Riyasat in Medina. Yeah, why is he silent about the Uyghur Muslims? You're building all these trade, alliances with China, but you're silent about, the Uyghur Muslims. What hypocrisy is that? What benefit there is there in a trade? Apart from, if I was just being selfish and I'm saying, yeah, I'm just going to make money, I don't care about anything else. Forget brotherhood, forget Islam. Yeah, be honest, isn't it? But look, you can't be pretending to believe in Riyasat Medina and then not care about the Muslims of in China. You can't be pretending about, look what's actually happening with the Muslims of Kashmir. Now the people, mashallah, whether we're simple, whether we're innocent, whatever it is, we shouldn't have a go at the ummah. The public, mashallah, is sincere. When you ask the public, what do they want? They want Islam. Look at the sentiment of the people when the cartoon, the images of Prophet, they were being published and everything like that. People were angry. People wanted something to happen. How can this be, acceptable? When people hear about, look how the sisters are being dishonored, they get angry. Look, they want something to be done. They want the Muslims, rulers, to move forward. They want the Muslim rulers, the armies, to go into Kashmir and protect the Muslims of Kashmir. When we hear what's actually happening in Palestine, look at the flashpoint that occurred in Palestine. Look what was happening in Masjid al-Aqsa. Apologies, you can stop me if you want to, right? The Muslims, they were all, look, passionate, emotional, and saying, look, how can people be coming into our masjid and throwing fireworks when people are praying? Even the sisters came out into the masjid to pray to protect the third most sacred masjid. Why are the rulers quiet? Why aren't the armies moving forward to protect the Muslims? Why aren't they moving forward to protect the third most sacred site in Islam, which is Al-Aqsa?
Okay, here I want to come
I
to the
just want to say something. But the biggest problem that we have in the present world is Muslims worldwide. At heart, they are bleeding. They're burning. They want to do something for their suffering brothers in Palestine, in Kashmir, this where this Rohingya or China, all over the world. But the problem is the rulers. The rulers are secular rulers. They are anti-Muslim rulers, anti-people rulers. They are serving the West. They are serving America, Britain, France, and Russia. The moment they deviate from that path, they are wiped out. Broken out here. Now see who is destroying the Muslim countries. Muslim rulers are destroying. They are serving the American interest, enemy's interest. So they now the problem with them for the Muslim is they have to face the uh, enemy within first before thinking of the enemy. Now media is controlled by the enemies of Muslims. And now with the money they are spending on weapons by weapon. For example, Saudi Arabia, they signed an agreement with America to import over the next 10 years $110 billion worth of arms. Now, United Arab Emirates was a pauper about 30, 40 years ago. Not there, nothing before the oil came. They are importing about 30, 40 billion dollar worth of arms, weapons to fight whom? They are making them rich. Now I'll tell you that Israel wanted to destroy Iraq. They got America to do the job. And America got they did the job, who doing using the United Nations and holding everybody, blackmailing the world. And America got Saudi, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman to pay foot the bill for the destruction of Iraq, the ancient country, 7,000-year-old country, where the Harun al-Rashid was a ruler. That during that time, the whole world came to Baghdad for education. So that country was ruined, destroyed. See, destroyed by America, Britain, France, and who foot the bill? Saudi. $70 billion Saudi spent to destroy Iraq. So, where do what can the Muslims do? These are very sad plight of the Muslims. All over the world, Muslims are brutalized, suppressed by their own dictators. Unless these dictators are removed, it's not going to be that easy. It's a long, drawn out battle. I don't know, only Allah knows what will happen. So you see, all over the world now, Muslims are suppressed, brutalized. You see, yesterday, day before yesterday, in Chhattisgarh in India, they simply, the Bharat and BJP thugs win there with swords, all those things, attacking the Muslim houses. What did the Muslims they got to do? Nothing. They didn't take resort to any violence. So this is happening all over the world. Now see Sudan, very rich country, very good Muslims there. Are they allowed to enjoy the fruits of freedom? No. They installed another dictator there. Who financed the dictator? UAE. You see, our Muslim plight. I was asking some ulamas to tell me, some ulamas who knows what was told about the plight to the Muslim in the latter part. So some of them are telling us this is the period. This is the period Rasulullah predicted. Ulamas will be there, but there won't be ilm. People will be there, honesty, integrity. Now most Muslims now see mouth by mouth. Salaam alaikum, wa alaikum salam. That's it. Here. At heart, they hope we were hypocrites. That system, now I tell you, in any Arab country, go there, king is there, or the dictator is there. Dictators and ministers are dictators, stooges. And it comes down the stage. So what can they do? Hypocrisy is institutionalized. So see, the moment you speak about Islam, out. By whom? By not America, Britain, France. The stooges in the country. Look, how many people, top scholars in Saudi Arabia, The land Allah chose to declare Islam. The land Allah chose to build the first Kaaba mosque. You see, they are in jail. They are in jail. So what can they do? Individually, they all feel. You see, I lived in the Gulf for about 25 years as a journalist. You know, heart to heart, if you get to know the people in top ranks, sometimes they call me, top level people. They call me, I tell you, you should know this here. And they lock the door and put out their feelings. Deadly against the government, their government. But the moment they see, meet the rulers, Walaikum Salam, kissing here, kissing there, kissing here, all sorts of jokes. So see, one day, when I saw the one man, Farooq, this is a sad situation. If I don't do this, I will lose my job. No water connection, no electric connection, no money, no food for my family. I'll be in jail. So this is what happening. This is happening. Saudi, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Egypt. Look, who destroyed Syria? Man? Syria is a country when you go there, very beautiful people, peaceful people. You see, you don't find anything there. In a place like Aleppo, in the morning when you walk, you see the misty water that on the plants. You could see what a nice country that is. Who destroyed? This Hafiz al-Assad, the butcher's son. His father was a butcher, he is a butcher. And now see how the Western, the Christian, Judeo-Christian lobby, what they are doing, they are taking him and introducing Queen Elizabeth to make him, show him as a very nice man, peaceful man. And now the last week, the reporters, America doesn't object to Arab dictators re-establishing ties with. So this is the problem with the ordinary Muslims. Have no way out. No way out. You see, but Allah will someday, we don't know. We have come to the end of the time. Oh, it's going to be a new era. We don't know. But these are plight all over. See Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, entire Middle East, Nigeria, Cameroon, all African countries, they are installed dictators looting the wealth. People are without food, without clothes, without house. They're suffering. Looting the wealth, all rich, gold, copper, like all these things. They can feed the people with that money. They won't feed. So you see, so many contradictions are there. The rich countries are serving them. Poor countries are used by dictators who implored. They are serving them. So you see, it's a very sad situation the Muslim pass through. But whatever said, in this difficult time and the difficult environment, we have to do whatever we can. Little bit.
Well,
Little
I,
bit, but I
Yes,
agree with you. Intellectually, like brother Bashar Ahmad said, we should educate the people. Now, worldwide Muslims, I would say, large number of Muslims, they are Muslim, they don't know Islam. Rituals, only they only know few rituals. They pray, but they don't know Islam. In Sri Lanka, if you ask me, I am a Muslim. There are about nearly 2 million Muslims. I don't say even 10,000 Muslims who know Islam. Even mullahs do not know Islam. We have mullahs who say, okay, if you want to cremate the body, cremate, but give portion of the shares, maybe to put it to the head like this. And he hit the head of the ulama. This is sad situation. So we are passing through maybe the worst period in the history of Islam and Muslim. For example,
yeah, Jazak.
before before this new after second world war, all Muslim country, most Muslim country became free. Before they became free, how the colonial powers slaughtered the Muslim. You know what happened in Palestine. You know what happened in Algeria. You know what happened in Mauritius, Tunisia, Egypt. How many millions of people sacrificed their life? What what is the use? These are situations we are passing through the most difficult time. Hypocrites and tyrants within us and rogues within outside. Very sad story. Sorry, brother, I disturbed you again.
Inshallah, I
let's,
want to take inshallah few minutes only for from the listeners. Inshallah, I think the discussion should be continued, but not today. Inshallah, another day we will restart. But the brother Basharat Ahmed, and for you for a few minutes, inshallah, you can take. I'm not
it's, I,
limiting the time. You can proceed. Yeah.
no, exactly. And I appreciate everything Brother Latif Farouk has said. So, alhamdulillah to that. You asked a question in terms of, look, what do we need to do as Muslims? So, whether it's discussing with ourselves, discussing with our community, locally and nationally, raising awareness, whether it's discussing with the influentials, whether it's discussing with the Muslims that are coming here, whether it's contacting Muslims back home. We need to raise awareness. We need to give dawah to one another. We need to work with one another. We have same goals. The zulm that's actually, occurring, every Muslim feels it. So we have same goals. Every Muslim that you ask, they want to live according to the Nizam of Islam. And Muslims that you ask, they want to unite. So if our goals are the same, we should work. Now there's sincere Jamaats out there, inshallah ta'ala, as well, that are working with same thing, raising awareness, that are not just local, that are not just national, they are international Jamaats. So we should look at that and we should work and contribute to the work of these people, inshallah ta'ala, as well, by actually uniting, by working with one another, inshallah ta'ala. Look, we make effort. Ultimately, the change always comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should always bear that in mind, because there's no time for despondency in anything that we do. Allah guides, Allah is the one that helps us, and Allah is the one that will support us. So we make effort, inshallah ta'ala, and we pray to Allah that Allah helps us unite, and we work with one another, inshallah ta'ala, to ensure that this aim that we have of living our life as per our deen, according to the laws of Islam, according to the laws of Allah, inshallah we achieve it in our lifetime. Jazakallah khair for your patience.
Jazakumullah khairan. And dear listeners and also guests, I want to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, second, inshallah, for your time and also very, very beautiful and truthful thoughts. And here I want to remind everybody, including me, including the listeners, including you. And in my lifetime, I am now 48 years old. And I remember the Kashmir and the Palestine. These are the issues when we were young, we were talking. But if you are looking into my son now, he is 15. And how many countries, how many atrocities he need to look into, observe, and the disappointment coming very easily. So my conclusion should be, as your brother Bakar mentioned, we never disappoint. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the beautiful way of life. This is rahmatun lil alamin. This is the mercy to the mankind. So if you don't show this light to the mankind, unfortunately, the mankind now is in the complete, I think, darkness. So we have the light, and we need to have the patience to show the light. If you don't show the light, even if we are afraid of showing the light, unfortunately, not only we going to be losers in this world, whole world. So this is the reason, inshallah, as both of you pointed out, yes, we do dua for the betterment of everybody. And also, we need to speak up. This is the area most of the people now, I think, they're afraid. But illa ma rahima rabbi, except those people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them. And inshallah, you speak the truth. And even if you killed, because of you are speaking the truth, and you don't need to afraid, because Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said very clearly, and Sayyidu Shuhada Hamza, the leader of the martyrs is Hamza radiallahu anhu, the uncle of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And the second one is coming, the person who stood up against the tyrant ruler and he speak up and the tyrant killed him. So this is the stage Islam gave to the people who are speaking the truth. So we don't live for this world, because we believe the hereafter is the eternal. And this life is ashiyatan al duhaha, according to the Quran, one morning or one evening. And if we lose and our akhirah for this one morning, one evening, we are like very foolish people. So this is the reason. Inshallah, we will conclude here, mashallah, beautiful, remember, because the Kashmir issue, not the issue for Kashmir only. This is issue for all the Muslims all over the world. This is the reason brother from Pakistan, brother from England, brothers from Sri Lanka and other part of the world, they are concerning about the Muslims in Kashmir. And inshallah, we hope, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the liberation through Islamic methodology, inshallah. And once again, dear listeners, inshallah, whatever we had today from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we would like to thank on behalf of all the people, and especially all the Kashmiri people, we need to thank Uncle Latif Farooq and also Brother Basharat Ahmed. May Allah reward both of you, inshallah. And we will meet once again in one more discussion, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's